Hey, beautiful human. Welcome to episode 17 of From Chaos to Cozy, where we're on an amazing journey, gaining clarity around our chaos and how to see our cozy more clearly. In the last episode, we visited more deeply the importance of developing a close relationship with our spiritual posse and our inner selves, our higher selves. And in this episode, we're going to take a look at some of the other sources of our beingness in more detail, including our higher self and our shadow. Now, we've been talking about how important our relationships with our higher self and the massive beings of unconditional love and light on the other side is. And gaining a clearer perspective of our existence helps us realize that this one tiny, small human life that we're living is but a very small piece of our experiences. When we realize that we are never alone, with the Creator always with us, but also having our spiritual posse and masses of thousands of beings on the other side that are always surrounding us, we step out of the me and more into the we. And then we realize we are part of a collective of souls that gather, representing a humanity collective, and then an earth collective that includes all the beings and energetic expressions on the planet. And then we've got the solar system collective involving all energies and beings in our solar system, including the planetary energies. And then we're a part of a cluster of solar systems in a galaxy, which all end up being part of a collective of this universe. But there are also other universes. And those are one large collective too, and more and more and more. So the further out we travel to see the bigger and bigger picture, the more we see other collectives that we are a part of. Ultimately, we will see that we are part of a great expanse that is part of the Creator, separate but all one. Does that make the circumstances and experience of this little planet seem less important and smaller? Does it help you realize how the restrictive thoughts and beliefs of the human cultures are rooted in fear rather than the higher unconditional love? In being rooted in fear, can we see how that they are unstable and that they're even lies? They're untrue, especially as we connect to the capital T truth of how unlimited, powerful, eternal, expansive we really are, and that we're made of the essence of the Creator, the Mother and Father of all things, actually made of unconditional love. And as we step higher, seeing our human life from the summit of the perfect mountain we really are, from the much higher viewpoint and perspective of the true existence, the true reality, we're able to see what an illusion this life is, a dream, a game, a play, make-believe, an imaginary world, and existence that's created so that we could experience many different things. And this world is temporary, everything changing and thus unstable, caught in time, which is a human creation, not experienced on the other side. We get to see the contrast between this made-up world and the reality of back home. And this world was created on purpose, with a purpose, and we get to experience everything that we've wanted to experience here. It was created for us. We were not sent here against our will or as a punishment of some kind, or the mothership, didn't crash here by accident. Every detail is perfectly ordered. We do have fated experience that we wanted to have here, and we kind of give our spiritual posse what I call a honey-do list that they work on while we're down here having our human experience. So they make sure those things come true. But a majority of our experience here as a human is about possibilities and or free will and power of choice. And each moment is simple, meaning that every moment we do make a choice between higher vibrational energy or lower vibrational energy, unconditional love or the fear of losing conditional love. We make those decisions, firstly, with our mind, the story we assign to what's happening in our world, our thoughts. We also make decisions with our heart each moment, what we choose to feel in this moment with what's happening in our world. We make those decisions regarding our spiritual and manifestation energy, what we're focusing on, and thus drawing into our lives, because like does attract like in this physical realm on this planet. And we make those decisions regarding our physical actions. What do we choose to activate our body to act out in the physical realm? So we have a mental decision, emotional decision, energetic decision, and physical decision. So many choices we get to make in the moment, and sometimes it doesn't feel like a choice because, of course, I know our conditioning and our brainwashing growing up. We received a lot of popular opinion from other humans and sources throughout our lives, and they were all suggestions on what we should think and feel, focus our energy on, and physically react with. And as children, we don't filter or know any better, and we just take on all of these opinions as our own opinions. And our opinions are reinforced where they become our habit to think, feel, and act a certain way in certain situations. And those habits become so automatic that they turn into a reaction where they happen so quickly, we may not even feel like we're making a decision. But we are. And because it's a habit, we can change a habit through repetition. So in this world, full of opinion about the possibilities, we can get back to being open to all these possibilities by questioning and understanding our opinion, our belief, our thoughts about things, the emotions we feel about things, the things that we're focusing our energy on, and the actions that we're habitually doing. We are a simple yet complex creation and being. Simply, we are a powerful, supernatural, eternal spirit being made of unconditional love, that actor behind the human character that we're experiencing here. Complex in that our higher self is experiencing so many existences across many dimensions and universes, while our human is also made up of our inner children, emotional inner child, mental inner child. We have our physical body, our brain, and instinctual survival mechanisms, our subconscious, our consciousness, our shadow, and who knows what else is bouncing around in there. Every cell of our body has its own existence and presence in some form or another. In a way, our physical body is a group of collectives that form different organs that work together in harmony to form this functioning human machine. Our spiritual posse is also simple, yet complex. At our beginning, we began as one huge sea of drops and then decided to expand ourselves like the Creator did, to see ourselves like the Creator wanted to see themselves. We split off into different expressions of the Creator, and then different adventures as different beings, and the lower vibrational energy that we become, we inhabit different forms in different dimensions and different frequencies. Those that are our angels and spirit guides, loved ones on the other side who lived a life here already, ancestors of various incarnations, and other beings like collectives, starseeds, unicorns, fairies, whatever and however spirit expresses itself to us. And at our core, we're all one. But we can also be multiple beings having different adventures, like a giant octopus with trillions of arms. So knowing these things helps us see life as less of a me versus them and a more of the we. And understanding more about the inner workings of our human can help us navigate these adventures that we're on. If a vehicle has four-wheel drive, but you don't know how to activate it from the two-wheel drive mode, then we can miss out on some off-road adventures, but also have difficult situations where we get stuck in mud or snow or something, but the four-wheel drive could help us get out of it. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the cool doodads that exist with our human existence. Astrology. Quite a bit of information about the backstory of this human character we're playing in this lifetime can be found perusing our astrological birth chart. Each planet rules over an area of our lives, and when we locate what sign the planet is in, what zodiac sign, even the house that it's in, it can tell us about what we're born with. We're all a special soup anyway, made of different degrees and portions of all these planetary energies, very much unique. And as the planets move throughout space in relation to our location on Earth, different energies are ignited over our lives as their energy bounces off each other at different angles. So it's fascinating what we can find out about our personalities and characters. So I highly recommend, looking into it as much as you feel led to. Like the sun, that is kind of known as the self, and the CEO. They give us the big picture. They kind of rule over everything big picture, like the umbrella of our lives. But then we have department heads, people who rule over different areas within the company, right? The moon is emotions and mom. So how you express emotion and want it expressed, how we experience mother or motherhood. And then you've got Mercury, which rules over the mind, communication, and some travel. Venus over love and relationships, of course, the planet, the goddess of love, feminine energy as well. Mars, which is all about action and conflicts and masculine energy and authority, so anything to do with those. Jupiter is about expansion, abundance, and can talk to us about how we experience dad or fatherhood. Saturn is all about structure and our perceived limitations and fears when it kind of rolls over the area of work and career. Uranus is revolutionary ideas, surprises, sudden changes in our lives. Neptune represents magic and dreams, spiritual gifts, and connection. And then Pluto is all about our rebirths, our endings and beginnings, and transformation. We could spend our entire lifetime digging into our charts, because there's so much we can find out about it. But we do want to live our lives and not just, read all the instruction manuals about how something works. It's like, if you have a game or something and you are reading all about it, but it's time to play it, right? So that's an important piece of it as well. Our shadow. Another large piece of our life experience as a human is our interaction with what's recently been commonly referred to as our shadow. And because our shadow uses our ego as a tool to bring things to our attention, it can be mistaken for the ego. The ego is more of an operating system that runs on autopilot till we learn to fly the plane, take over control of it ourselves. Can be likened to a nanny that cares for us and keeps us alive and well till we're able to care for ourselves. We tend to be taught that our shadow, needs to be erased or destroyed, but it's our friend. We hired it. It's not our enemy. In fact, it's part of us. Our higher self actually completes and fulfills our human shadow self. It relates very well to the Devil card in the Major Arcana of Tarot. It has Saturn and Capricorn energy, which is about doing the work, but also getting the reward for doing the work. Saturn can be looked at as the wise taskmaster grandfather who's tough in bringing the opportunity for tasks. But if we listen and take on the task, we glean the knowledge and the wisdom that help us evolve and an abundance that comes from learning those things. I heard a story about Saturn that helped me understand its energy. And there were like 2 twin grandchildren that would spend every summer with their rich, tough grandfather. And he would give them tasks every single time, like counting and rolling pennies and reorganizing books in different orders, first by title and then redo it by author, etc. And he told them that there would be compensation for doing these things later. One of the grandchildren, they would refuse, tell the grandfather they were crazy, and they would go about their business doing whatever they wanted instead. And the grandfather never forced him to do anything. The other grandchild, even though they thought some of the things their grandfather was having them do was a bit odd or weird, they saw how rich and successful their grandfather was and trusted that they were doing these things for a reason, and they trusted that they would live up to their word, that there would be reward later. And this happened season after season until one day the grandfather passed. And when the will was being read, both grandchildren were granted a large volume of books listing all the lessons the grandfather had tried to teach them with all the rewards that came with those things. But the one grandchild that did all the tasks also received the entirety of the grandfather's estate. The other grandchild only received the volume of the books. And I like that. It's such a great analogy because it brings clarity around the Saturn energy and how it works while it's transiting and impacting our astrological energy, especially when we have a Saturn return. Now, Saturn return is when Saturn returns to the position and degree it was when we were born. That happens every 28 to 29 years. And since the planet is kind of out there distance-wise, it can still impact us 5 years before and after that time as well. So I plan on making one of my astrological Zen-ergy videos on that soon. So keep an eye out for that. Inner child, another part of our shadow that also influences a great part of our ego operating system are our inner children. I briefly mentioned them in the past episodes, but let's dig in a little deeper on them. We do have several versions of inner children, or maybe a clearer way of saying that is different expressions. We can kind of break out the inner children into 3 categories. We've got a giant emotional child self, a mental child self, and a physical child self. We'll talk about the emotional child self in this episode, and then the other 2 in the next podcast, or podcast, depending on how deep I go into the next one. So the emotional child self is commonly said to be formed around 7 years old and younger, even picking up emotional energy within the womb at a certain point. A great point with all this is that we cannot solve emotionally charged energy with mental energy. Heart challenges are resolved within the heart. An example of this is the energy of the 6 of Cups in the tarot. And in addition to representing past life emotional energy and emotions related to individuals from our current life coming back onto the stage of our lives, can also represent a source of emotional, energetic transformation. This transformation takes place when we first realize that every moment is an emotional choice of either unconditional love or the fear of losing conditional love. And once we determine that someone else's actions or non-actions, their words or their silence, that they were fear-based, we can look at the situation differently when we're looking at it from a place of calm. When we're in fear, we don't think straight, so we can't transform emotional energy when we're freaking out. We have to calm down first. And when our little inner emotional human children, as all humans, feel unsafe and out of control, alarms go off. We eject the intelligent, loving, and compassionate side of our emotional existence out of the emotional control room, leaving a 2-year-old mind and its pet hissing cat to choose emotional reactions instead of intelligent, loving, compassionate emotional responses that ignite those types of actions to the outside world instead of attacking, fighting, or running away. So, if when we are in fear, we do stupid stuff like a 2-year-old would do, like, if you don't play my way, I'm taking my ball and going home, or if you don't stop playing with all my toys, I'm going to hit you over the head with my toy truck. Realizing other humans do this too, we can start seeing that their actions, these silly actions, were not of the adult human we know, but of a 2-year-old who was in fear. And, how much do we normally let a 2-year-old's actions and words impact us? Usually not very much, right? I mean, a little 2-year-old, they don't know any better. They don't know any other ways. And we don't know any better either when we are in our 2-year-old mind, especially with that pet hissing cat in our ear of our little emotional self telling us to hiss and attack, hiss and run away, or hiss and attack and then run away. So we can see that their actions were not about us, but about their inner child that was doing whatever a 2-year-old would think it needed to do to feel safe and in control again, aka stupid things. And we can see how when they do these stupid things because they felt unsafe and out of control, that our emotional inner child just may have also been activated, triggering our inner emotional child to define itself by these others' actions. And once all of this starts to sink into our heart, we can transform the emotions by releasing the emotional charge of fear around them and replace it with unconditional love for our emotional inner child and the other emotional inner children of others that are involved in the situation. It's like swimming out to rescue someone who's drowning, and as you get closer to them with their arms flailing all over the place in panic, they might just hit you upside your head. And then when they notice, because they hit you upside your head, that you're there, they grab onto you and, like a life preserver, they take you underwater with them. You might wonder, why are they hitting me? Why are they trying to kill me? But once you get things under control, you get them back to shore, they calm down. And the adult human side that is intelligent, compassionate, and loving comes back and might now recognize that it was you who was rescuing them as you notice the fear leave their eyes and the real person return. We begin to see the situations of our past differently. We begin to see the other person's themselves differently, and we begin to see ourselves much differently as we stop defining ourselves by others' panicked actions that were rooted in fear of being rejected, fear of failure, fear of death, or whatever fear it was. There's an amazing book called Whole Brain Living, written by Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, which goes into the 4 characters that live in our head and some great ways for us to allow each to have its place in our lives. After all, sometimes it is great to have a little inner child who kicks in and takes us out of danger when we're out of our minds, right? Another great point about our emotional inner child is that we cannot meet fear with fear and expect it to solve any of our emotional challenges. We can use a process like we talked about to help transform those emotions, but we can also take a look under the hood into our subconscious to see what programs might be running down there on autopilot. One of these programs is our rate of emotional exchange, and that's determined when we're 7 years old and younger. I relate this to the 6 of Pentacles adventure in the tarot. When we are young children, we gain a perception of our worthiness, which admittedly is not accurate, but nonetheless, we're children and we don't know any better. We give and we give and we give to those we see as important in our lives, whether that's parents, grandparents, siblings, teachers, whoever it may be. And from our little child's perception, we receive very little in return. We accept this perceived rate of exchange like we give 1,000 love coins and only receive one back. And that all sinks down into our subconscious and runs on autopilot without us being aware of its impact. In our emotional inner child, it's pushed down into our subconscious when our mental inner child begins to develop. We'll talk more about that when we get to the mental inner child in the next episode. But the emotional inner child supervises over that realm of the subconscious. So it's in charge of keeping track of how close we are to giving the 1,000 love coins in order to be able to feel worthy to receive anything else. And until it reaches that point, it will keep a force field up, keeping love, abundance, and anything else that we're desiring away until it feels we're worthy of it. Luckily, we can do something about this, and by bringing that rate of exchange from the subconscious into the conscious, we can question what this rate of exchange is by revisiting the emotions around how we felt abandoned and not receiving the fair market value of one-to-one from those individuals. So we can see they did their best and they had so much going on. They didn't have what we were wanting them to give us, which was unconditional love. They were also on their mad search for that unconditional love in the outside world and not finding it there, not finding wholeness either. We can release these individuals, forgive them, send them compassion, and choose to no longer be a vessel of pain because of someone else's actions, non-actions, words, or silence. We can edit that rate of exchange from 1,000 to 1 all the way down to 1 to 1. And then the floodgates open into our lives and in those areas that we're ready to balance. Love can come in. Abundance can come in. Anything that was held out before because of that force field has the opportunity to move into our lives. There are other things like our energetic focus that also include what comes into our lives, but this is a great knowledge, a great place to start or continue on. I know you guys are already on a huge emotional journey. So we'll definitely talk more about our shadow and inner children as we move along our path from chaos to cozy, because you can imagine that they are such a huge part of that adventure. And it helps me to organize it all in my head as I look at all the things and throughout my life to see what is connected to the heavens, that's rooted in unconditional love, and then everything else, the physical human side of us, that roots itself in the fear of losing conditional love. It's simple, so it simplifies it for me, and then I know where my attention can be focused on to question and inquire. So hopefully that helps. So in the next episode, we'll continue talking about our inner children as we tackle the mental and the physical inner children. Well, not literally, but playfully and gently. They are children. So until next time, remember, every second of every moment of our lives that we are eternally and unconditionally loved by the Mother and the Father of all things, our Creator. And of course, I love you too. So hang in there, take care of you, and we'll see you soon.